This video is a general overview of vitamins and minerals. A little history behind vitamins. Back in the 1750s, James Lind had shown that citrus fruit could cure scurvy, but at that time they didn't know what it was about the citrus fruit that was curing the scurvy. So while they had observed that people who ate citrus fruit did not get scurvy, or if they already had it, it could cure their scurvy. We had not discovered vitamin C, and we didn't know why they were getting better after eating the citrus. So it wasn't until the 1900s that the first vitamin was discovered by Casimir Funk. So he actually discovered thiamine, or vitamin B1, and at the time he called it anti-beriberi factor. And Funk was the one that actually came up with the term vitamin. So at first he thought that all of the vitamins would turn out to be amines, so he named them vite, as in vital to life, plus amine, which was vitamine, which then later got turned into vitamin whenever they discovered that all of the vitamins didn't happen to be amine structures. In the 1940s, the science about vitamins was becoming developed enough that scientists started to set RDAs, our recommended dietary allowances. So we started to find out enough about vitamins that we could actually start to attempt to begin making recommendations for individual intakes of these vitamins. Some general characteristics of vitamins are that they are essential. So that means that our body cannot make them itself. We have to get these vitamins from an outside source, so from our diet. Vitamins are also organic substances, so meaning that they are carbon-based. And we can classify vitamins into two main categories based on their solubility. So we have water-soluble vitamins and fat-soluble vitamins. And there are a lot of different characteristics between those, but one of the main things is that our water-soluble vitamins can only be stored in relatively small amounts in our body, whereas fat-soluble vitamins can be stored in much larger amounts. Some characteristics of minerals. So unlike vitamins, minerals are inorganic, so they are not carbon-based. Like vitamins, minerals are also essential. So our body doesn't create them on its own. We have to get them from our diet. We classify minerals based on the amount that our body needs per day of that specific mineral. So you can see that we need a lot more of our major minerals than we do of, say, our ultra trace minerals. So that's not to say that major minerals are more important than ultra trace minerals. We just need the ultra trace in smaller amounts. Our dietary reference intakes, or our DRIs, are estimates of how much of specific nutrients humans need on a daily basis. You can think about like the RDA, the EAR falling under the umbrella of the DRIs. So the DRI is the general term for these levels, and then each specific component of the DRI has a particular function and particular characteristics for how we use that. So we'll talk about each one of these individually in just a minute, but first let's talk about how we get our DRIs. Where do they come from? Who creates them? The DRIs are created ultimately by the Food and Nutrition Board. So the Food and Nutrition Board is part of the National Academy of Medicine, which was formerly called the Institute of Medicine. So that might be a more familiar term for that organization. So the National Academy of Medicine is then a part of the National Academy of Sciences, which is a part of the National Academies. It's important to note that these are not government organizations. These are nonprofit organizations, and they state that their purpose is to provide independent, trustworthy advice and facilitate solutions to complex challenges by mobilizing expertise, practice, and knowledge in science, engineering, and medicine. Let's talk specifically about the Food and Nutrition Board. It was established in 1940, and they are the ones that actually develop the DRIs for the US and Canada. They do other things as well. So they also study issues related to safety and adequacy of the US food supply, among other things. This board is composed of experts. So you can go to the website for the Food and Nutrition Board and read the bios of the people that are currently serving on this board. Most of them are going to be PhDs with some sort of special expertise that's nutrition related, also RDs. So if you are interested, go on and read some of the bios of the people that are currently serving on the Food and Nutrition Board. So now we're going to go back to these different components of the DRIs. First, we're going to talk about the estimated average requirement, or the EAR. So the EAR actually has to be established first before we can establish an RDA for an individual nutrient. So this level is set at what would be adequate to meet the needs of about 50% of a particular population group. So there might be different needs based on age or gender. After we've set the EAR, we can then set an RDA. So the RDA is based on the EAR, and it's set 2 standard deviations higher, so that it is estimated to meet the needs of about 98% of individuals in a particular population group. The RDA is intended to meet the needs of almost everyone in a certain population group. So this is the DRI that serves as an individual goal for intake. The next component of the DRIs is the adequate intake, or the AI, and this is used when we do not have enough scientific information about a particular nutrient to be able to set an EAR. And then, of course, if we can't set an EAR, we cannot set an RDA. So this is based on the judgment of experts. They look at the intake of a certain nutrient within a healthy population. They make the assumption that these people are not showing any sign of deficiency of this nutrient. So whatever amount they're regularly consuming is probably adequate. Then they set the AI at that level. So it's based on an assumption of adequacy. Last DRI component is the tolerable upper intake level, also called the UL. So this is the highest daily intake that is unlikely to cause adverse events. Not all of our nutrients have an established UL. We don't have enough information, enough research to set this for all of our nutrients. But it is important to remember that just because a nutrient doesn't have a UL, that doesn't mean that there isn't any risk to consuming high levels of that nutrient. We just don't know yet what the limit is on how much can be consumed without adverse events. Our next video will be related to dietary supplement regulation in the United States. So thank you for watching.